are we all doing today? Give me just a second here. We'll get the audio set just right. Guys, welcome to Tuesday Talks Recap. Talking about what we were mentioning out just the other day. Openness, absorbency, flexibility, basically just being open to everything around you. You know, we had a really good conversation about this. We actually had a really nice long conversation about this on Tuesday, and the nice thing is there's so many people from within our generation. I should say within a couple of generations that are willing to look at things from another perspective. And I'm going to be using that word a lot today just because perspective is everything. All through school, you were always told attitude is everything. Well, attitude is everything. You got to have a positive attitude on things. But perspective is really everything. Perspective is the difference between being able to see half the picture, a quarter of the picture, part of the picture, and being able to see the whole thing from an outside view. What do I mean by this? Well, think of it this way. If you cover one of your eyes, right, you lose all your vision from everything over here. But you can still see all this just fine. You flip-flap the roll, and you cover this eye. Well, now you lose sight of everything over here. But you can now see all of this. Open-mindedness, flexibility, absorbency, all of this comes down to a matter of perspective. You have to be able to try and see things from another angle, from a different side, in order to really grasp everything that's going on. A good example of this would be, say, colorblindness. There are now special glasses that they can get to help correct this chroma issue within their eyes. And you guys want a good one? Go look up some of the reactions on that. Essentially, they get to change their perspective. They get to see so much more. And that's a prime example of it being incredibly rewarding. When you let yourself open to the possibility that your way might not be the best way or the right way or the only way, you get to experience some amazing events. I mean, we're talking about what happens, right? What happens when you go to a football game or a baseball game or something like that? And, it's great seeing stuff from the stands. Absolutely great seeing stuff from the stands. But then you get that opportunity to go into the dugout or go to the sidelines or go courtside at your favorite basketball team's game. And it's just so different. Look at this when it comes to all those topics that everyone is so up in arms about right now. Whether that's race, creed, sexuality, biological function, because for some reason we have to throw that one in there. Disabled, don't look at these situations, these different areas as roadblocks or definitions to one direction or the other. No. Look at them as opportunities for you to expand and to learn more. You don't understand why someone believes something that they do, don't immediately criticize and say that it's not right because it's not what you believe, but ask them, why do you see it that way? Where's the grounding for that? Is it something you were raised to believe? Is it something you came to on your own? Is it a product of environment? Is it conditioning? Unfortunately, conditioning is a very real part of today's world, but that's not what we're talking about today. What we're talking about is being able to open yourself enough to see these perspectives of other people, to see why that person worships the way they do, why that person over there likes to go from point A to point B in a zigzag motion instead of a straight line. It kind of gives you a broader scope on life in general. There are over 9 billion people on this planet. 9 billion, okay? It's an insane amount. Absolutely insane amount. And when you think about it, every single one of them is different in, some way, shape, or form. They are different. If that's the case, you guys will have to pardon me for this. I don't know why I'm coughing so much. With that being the case, wouldn't that make you assume that there are literally 9 billion different ways for things to be done? That's more ways than any of us will experience. It doesn't matter if you're world cultured or world traveled. You're still never going to be able to understand all of that. So, in the short amount of time that we're here, the short amount of time that we are given to experience this thing called life, why the hell not try and learn about as many perspectives as possible? Why not be open to the idea that there are so many more things going on, so many different ways to do the same thing, right? I use the example point A to point B. Well, here's point A, right? It doesn't matter if you go straight to point B or if you want to take the long and winding road. The point is, you still went from A to B, right? Doesn't matter which direction you took, which route you took. You straight lined, you zigzagged, you went for a 6-month detour and went around the world before you went all the way to point B. By all means, that doesn't make you wrong. What would make you wrong is if you thought that that is the only way that you could go. Now, see, I was fortunate enough in the way that I was raised that I wasn't forced to conform to any one thought process, any belief system, or anything like that. In fact, I was very, very fortunate enough to be told that I just have to think. I just have to think. Treat everybody the same. Treat everybody with respect. Treat everybody as though they are important. Unless they give you reason not to. Okay, that's a little different, but that's, again, another conversation for another time. What it boils down to is the golden rule, guys. Treat others as though you would like to be treated. Openness, absorbency, flexibility, being able to bend around whatever's in your mind is something that's going to make that so much easier in the long run for you. You come across a person in your day-to-day life, right? And you guys have the same problem. I'm going to use my little Deadpool figurine here, okay? I'm going to use Deadpool because when you look at him from the front, right, you can see he's got a taco and he's got a sword. You got this problem in front of you, right? And you can see it. You can see the sword. You can see this problem, right? Deadpool doesn't do very well at holding on to his problems. He just kind of likes to toss them aside. Okay. So you can see the sword. You don't see the taco. You don't see the other side. Now, this person that you're having an issue with, they see the taco. They see this tasty little morsel here. They don't see the sword. See where I'm going with this? It is until you guys actually talking about what you see and what's in front of you that you come together and see the whole picture. You see the taco. You see the sword. You see the big issue. And in this case, it's Deadpool's taco butt. Every problem that you have in life with another person or with a belief or with just about anything where you don't understand or you think that you have a way set, remember that there's always another side to it. In fact, there's probably 15,000 different sides to it. It's just a matter of how you're looking at it. Maybe you're not seeing it maybe you're not seeing something that's easily discernible to someone else. Maybe you're only seeing a part of what's actually happening. Well, if that's the case, doesn't it make sense to kind of reach out and try and figure out all the details? You know that there's a cliff in front of you. You know there's a cliff in front of you, but you don't know how far down it is, right? Talk to the person beside you who's climbed down this rock face before. Talk to the person who's been on the bottom. Do you have enough rope? Do you have enough equipment to get down? You're not going to know until you talk about it. You're not going to know until you take the time to say, hey, this is the way I see it, but what do you think? Debates and arguments over all these pointed issues are something that could be done very, very casually and politely if people could just take a step back and realize that things are different for every single person. Tuesday we had a lovely person joining us who talked about how where she's from, her newfound faith basically made her an outcast. I mean, that's simplifying it, but that's what it came down to. And the whole entire time I'm sitting there thinking, she's an outcast to these people that don't want to open their minds, supposedly in one of the most liberal areas of the country. Well, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Don't tell me that you're open. Don't tell me you're open-minded unless you're willing to sit down and listen to why I see things the way that I see them. Or you're willing to sit there and listen to someone who you blatantly do not agree with, but you're not going to belittle them for it. Sitting there and criticizing and commenting on every little line isn't being open, guys. Being open is letting them speak their side of things and realizing that it's going to be a little different for them. You know, there's the long-standing joke that, and if this is in poor taste, I do apologize, but we used to laugh all the time saying that elevators smell differently to midgets. I realize that's probably not the most politically correct thing to say, but the statement is, the meaning behind it is perfect, all right? Every single person is going to have a different experience in the situation, okay? What's perfectly fine for me is going to be absolute hell for the next person. What's going to be absolute hell for me will be nothing but water off the back of some other people, right? The best thing you can do, the best way to look through this, the best way to get into a frame of mind where you're okay letting people be people is just understand that we're all human. We all have to rationalize things a little different. And just because you're not okay with something doesn't mean that the next person is. Just because you don't like the way that Brussels sprouts taste doesn't mean that the next person doesn't freaking love them. But it doesn't mean you have to berate them. It doesn't mean you have to tear them down or tell them that they're wrong. No. The nice thing about being human, guys, is we're allowed, you know, it's kind of who we are to be able to free think, to think for ourselves, to have our own thoughts and our own beliefs and desires. And who are we to take that away from other people? Who are we to tear that down from them? It's not us. The only people that should be allowed to do that are themselves. With that all being said, guys, you have to really, really try and take a step back anytime you get heated on something. You know, there are certain things that people aren't going to change your mind on, and that's fine. That's perfectly fine. What's not okay is assuming that they're a bad person or tearing them down or saying things that you shouldn't about them just because you don't agree with what they're saying. Well, that's the whole point of this. Let them be them. Let them speak their mind. If they're not hurting somebody, if they're not hurting you, if it's not a direct impact on your life or the things that you're doing, let them have the belief. Now, if someone's coming in and threatening you because, you know, you think one thing and they think another, well, okay, that's a little different situation. Then we kind of got to escalate from there. But, you know, most of the time you're never going to see that happen. You guys are going to butt heads and you're going to go, you know, different paths, which is great, which is what you should do. You don't have to have that confrontation if it doesn't need to be there. I guess growing up, one of the really really awesome things about the way we grew up is we were given that freedom of choice in everything, and because of that, I learned from a very young age that differences in people make for good conversation. Differences between people make for great communication, provided you take the time to learn how to do it. It's not something I can teach you. I can give you hints, I can give you suggestions, I can say, okay, I would do it this way. But what it boils down to is being able to shut up and actually listen to the other person, to be open to everything that they are saying. I used the example on Tuesday that one of my fellow moderators in the Phoenix Cartel is we see things very, very differently. Very, very differently. But because of the way that we see them and the way that we're able to communicate, most of the problems that arise within our community, we can ixnay them instantly. Because she'll see it from this side and I see it from this side. We see every angle and we're like, okay, this is what we need to do. Compromise comes so much faster when you're willing to be open to other possibilities, be open to other suggestions. Okay? What I want you all to take away from this week, what this Tuesday talk is, open your mind, open your eyes, shut your mouth. I know that sounds really harsh and really kind of, rough and tumble, but close your lips and let the other people speak. You might get a different perspective on things, and if you get a different perspective, I'm not saying it's going to completely change your mind, but it might open just enough doors to make the impossible happen. When you stay open-minded, you build relationships, you build consistency, and you build platforms that you would never have otherwise. The most successful people in this world are the ones that are willing to take a step back and listen to what is being said around them. I guarantee you take the time to learn how to close your mouth and open your eyes and ears, you're going to do so much better. You're going to do so much better. Guys, I can't thank y'all enough for all of this. Keep in mind that we do these talks every Tuesday. We do these on Twitch, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. We got all sorts of different topics. Next week we have a really special one coming, and I want to thank y'all for being here. Make sure you hit that sub button up above. Make sure you hit those follow buttons on all the sites listed below, and we will see you guys next week. Bye.